we going, everyone? We're at the tail end of this little trial here. This is the one with the grow stick and the little lettuce patch that I created, identical plants. And I've got to harvest it, so your last chance to have a look at it before we harvest and eat them, because they're beautiful. Now, how do we go between the ones with and ones without the grow stick? There's the grow stick. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, this little unit here punches a little bit of energy back into the soil, which is taken up by the plant. So it supplements the plant with extra energy, a little bit of a current, so that the plant's able to produce a bigger plant or grow bigger, more fruit if it's a fruiting plants or vegetables. And in this case here, it's a leafy green, and we're going to compare it. So I'm going to harvest the cos lettuce. This one's actually starting to curl. So they start to twist when they're about to start pushing on their flower. So if I leave it any longer, it'll become bitter, and you won't want to eat it. Whereas this one is a bit behind that one. It's a lot fuller. And the best way to have a look is by simply cutting it out. All right. Remember, they're in pots. They're not in the ground. And there's 4 plants. So that's one there. The bottom leaves are gone. A little bit of mold on it. Man, we're not going to have anything left here if I pull all these off. All right, so there's the one without the grow stick. And let's harvest this one with the grow stick. Automatically, let's just have a look at the stem. Okay, get rid of all these too. Let's just go there for starters. Look how much wider that is. Now this is in the pot, as I said, so they haven't got a lot of room or space. They're a little bit cramped, and I've let them grow for a little bit too long. Much larger in diameter by comparison to that one there. And if you want to talk about density, you can see yourself. That's just a small plant there. That's a lot larger. Identical conditions, right side by side, same soil that we used, our planting mix, and same watering cycle. One got watered, so did the other one. And because they're rubbing and not enough airflow through the middle, that's where you get a bit of mold, not mold, well, just a little bit of dieback there, or blight if you want to call it that. So we've got a lot more density in that. So that's a good one. Let's harvest another one. Well, we've just got to work our way around all this, don't we? Let's grab this one here. We're making a big salad tonight. That's all died off. Which one's this one? That's the one with the stick. All right, so we've got a small head, nothing relatively large there. And a couple of leaves also gone. But let's compare it to this one here. It's even smaller. Look at this, really. I mean, they don't grow as well in the pot, honestly, as we all know. They don't grow as large. But again, let's just work on the stem. So you can see how the grow stick helps the plant grow bigger, better, and faster by comparison. All right, so they both had a little bit of dieback on those leaves. We've taken them off, but look at that. We've got much more volume here out of this here. Done nothing different besides just stick it in there. If I keep harvesting, this is not going to be any, well, I'm not going to eat all this tonight. I'm going to take the rest tomorrow. The culprit. There's why we're getting damage here. Okay, been feeding on our little lettuces. So we've got a snail in here, and I'm sure there's one in here somewhere hiding. We'll find that one as well. All right, so grow stick. If you haven't tried it, well, they're available on the website. They do work. They put a little bit of energy into it, and they don't have to be in direct sunlight to grow. And you can see by comparison, diameter there. If anything, that'll give you a good indication on how much bigger it grows. So we've got a bigger, stronger, robust plant on top. Let's go and check out the capsicums now. So what we're going to look at here are capsicums grown under plastic, like a little hothouse, versus the ones grown outside. And we're also including our cucumbers. These are our long sweet yellow, folks. And remember a while back, we were talking about how they were struggling because the weather was really harsh on them. Well, have a look at this now, eh? Not bad for Lethbridge, considering it's still pretty breezy out here. It doesn't really settle down that well. We only get a few good days. We have actually harvested, so these are the next ones coming on. They'll grow about that long there, about 15, 20 centimetres, and about 4 centimetres in diameter, 3 to 4. So that's about half its full size there, what I'm looking at here there. That's got a lot more growing to go. And for them to grow, folks, you've got to keep the moisture up. Not enough water, not enough size. And that goes with fruit as well. Apart from the fact that if your trees, for example, like an apple tree may have, 400 apples on it, and if you don't thin them out, it'll grow them all, but they won't all grow to a big size. They'll grow smaller and still juicy. If you did thin them out, you'd get a larger fruit out of it. But again, if there's not enough water there, you're not going to get the juices developing and the size you want as well. So these are the capsicums, beautiful, protected by the plastic. And we've also got our cucumbers in here growing. Now these were planted. Here's this one here that's been, we've probably harvested about half a dozen off it already, and it's still going on. Now the temperature today was about 20 degrees, 19, 20, but a little bit breezy, and the wind is got a chill factor in it. So it's not the perfect ideal environment to keep these growing. Now February is meant to be the hottest month for us, but we haven't copped that yet. So we only had a couple of good days. It's going to spike up. Now let's compare it to the ones outside here. This little sorry looking thing, have a look at it. How sad is that, eh? They were planted about the same time as the one inside there, and we have harvested off it, but I mean this is not an example of how to grow a cucumber, folks. This is an example of what it looks like when you're trying to grow it in an environment where it's not ideal for it. Too cold. They're not protected around the base. So this is outside, that one's inside. This has got no protection whatsoever. Now I'll show you one with protection around the base. Just next door, folks, these ones here have got simply a little bit of protection around the base. That's our plant guard that we put there, or tree guards, as you can see, and that keeps that little part of the plant warm, which is closer to the root system, and that's what you need, the temperature in the soil. And we have harvested, and we've got more coming on there. And look, it's still vibrant, still pushing on. The other one's got a pot around the base, which has worked. Not as well, I don't think, by comparison. That's my opinion, with the plastic, in fact. So that's got a bit more heat going in there. And plus, they're surrounded by tomatoes. Have a look at these little beauties. Now, these are doing really well. We've got lots of fruit on them, everywhere, setting beautifully. Very, very late in the season it is. And a lot of people are asking, you've got a lot of tomatoes. Look, a lot of you have harvested red tomatoes and you've got a beautiful microclimate going in your garden, but there's still a lot out there who are very late in getting their tomatoes to ripen, as I am here. So our weather here is not as warm consistently, so we're going to get a very late harvest and not as big a production either. I'm just hoping the size will still be there. They're not going to be undersized. And there's not much you can do about it, because if the weather does drop as well, it gets too cold, yes, they'll ripen, but they're not going to have the sweet sugars that you want in the flavours, because it needs the heat to happen. So I'm not going to put a hothouse over this. I'm just going to persevere with it, and hopefully we have a good job. I just want to show you one more tomato down here. Yeah, we've got a few growing down here, folks. There's about a half a dozen or so, if not more, growing, and we've got a half decent one showing a bit of size already. I'm hoping that will start to develop even bigger, so we get at least twice the size added in Malacca before we get it out off the plant. Fingers crossed the weather doesn't turn nasty on us. And if it does, you're going to hear a lot of goat sounds. That's what you're going to hear. Anyway, check out our website, Vasili'sGarden.com. Our February countdown sale is still on. Take advantage of it before the prices go up. From me, Vasili, Maresi.